Once again, I'm joined by two lovely people. This time it's two men. Last episode, we were all girls in the studio. Well, apart from my engineers over here, but it's good to have. It's been long due. I think one of them, at least, has been. We've been talking since 16 or 17. I don't remember. Maybe around 17, 18 as well. But thankfully, finally, it's happened. I think it all happens for the good. This is a Totally Indian Football Show with me, your host Siju. I have Saksham with me. He's the under 19 assistant coach for the Reliance Foundation Young Champs, and I have the head of scout, Stephen Charles.
Yes.
Yeah, I first thought Stephen Charles about two different names, two different people.
It's the same.
So both of them part of the Reliance Foundation Young Champs Academy, and we know, I think, for all who follow Indian football, we're familiar with what they're doing, and they've been doing some immense work. In fact, the current season of ISL has been, I would say, the best because a lot of shining young talents playing for the big clubs. So finally, we're going to get the people who are actually doing the groundwork. Steve, as I said, is the head of scout. Saksham and Steve, thank you so much for making time, coming all the way. Highly respect and love for both of you. Thank you so much and welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure being here.
Yeah, really nice to be here, Siju. Like you said, it's been a long time coming. We've been chatting for so long. And I also want to do this because I wanted to share all the cool stuff we're doing at Young Champ just so that the public gets access into it. So finally, we can get this rolling.
Let's begin then. I think, Saksham, for you, as this, I want to just say that we're going to get to know a bit about you guys as well first. I know you, or people who know and follow Young Champs would know you. The larger, broader community that is there for Indian football, I would like them to know a bit of your journey as well.
Yeah.
Saksham, for you, how did coaching ended up? How do you end up becoming a coach?
Oof. One of my favorite stories to tell actually. So I have one of my colleagues working with me in Ajay Patnaik, also with media. So we go back a long way where we started playing in the colony together. My dad's from the defense side, and luckily we have a lot of access to football grounds and multiple sports. That's where it really started. Then being a Bombay boy, I was like, okay, I want to take this to the next step. So let me go for trials. I went to Kinkre, gave trials, first successfully, then unsuccessfully, where they told me at the under 19 trials, they said, okay, time up, you're not good enough, leave. Really struggling period in the middle with college, with graduation. And then I decided, okay, where am I really the happiest? And that was when I'm on the pitch, dealing with players or being around the sport. And I couldn't keep myself away from it. So what started post that was me experimenting. I went to a bunch of schools. I coached Jai Hind College. And then I realized, okay, this is where I'm happiest. And this is the only thing I can do. Post which, after graduating, I got first class in BA, and then I decided to take the next step, which is I went to University of Wales Institute of Cardiff, did my masters in sports coaching, got my licenses there. Then when I came back, I entered this, let's say, so-called professional world of Indian football. Went to BFC, sort of got my, you can call it the primary school of coaching. Richard was there, of course. Pradyum was there. Ashley was there. So while BFC was at its inception started, I witnessed that whole journey where they won the league in the first season.
Start of
almost like a new chapter of Indian football. And post which I decided, okay, I need to make the next steps, and went around the country, did a few odd jobs, before which I stumbled upon Pete Huber's profile on LinkedIn. I'm like, okay, what's this sort of going on? And RFYC had just started, and like, what's going on here? And I actually, that was my phase where I was messaging at least 10 different profiles every single day on LinkedIn. And luckily, Pete was one of the few people to respond, or unluckily, I don't know. One thing led to another. He said, come down. We're doing something cool. Come check it out. And I was blown away when I went there. I was completely blown away by the intensity and the speed at which these young kids are playing. And I was like, okay, if I want to progress now, I've joined. Coaching is what I want to do. And if I want to become another level, this is where I have to be. And yeah, here I am 8 years later.
Sweet. I'll come back to, I have, kind of few things are there in my back of my head I want to nudge you on. Steve, scouting is the most important, probably, sport where you need the role of a scout to kind of help the coaching staff and help the management. But it's also, I think, there's a lack of good scouts or, people who kind of take it up as a profession and say, okay, I will do this in Indian football at least. How did that land up? Because of course you begin your journey as a coach. I mean, of course before that a player, but then your coaching journey begins,
Yeah.
and that's when you kind of, it's that people doing MBBS or something, they want to be a surgeon, they want to do something very specific, and that's what you've chosen, right? Scouting an element that's very specific to the course. So what's your journey like? And yeah, I believe you're a Pune lad, so we have a Mumbai and a Pune lad on our show. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, I think my journey's been quite a roller coaster ride. I mean, there was never an aim to be a scout, never an aim to be a coach. A footballer, yes, long shot is there. Professional football, I had no clue about. So I started off as an athlete. I was a sprinter back in school, and coming from St. Vincent's High School, which has rich sporting culture, that was there to my backup. And paternal side, cricketers, maternal side, athletes and hockey players. So surrounded by sports all over, but couldn't find, or there was no one to identify me as a sportsman or my qualities. So the journey started from school, I could say, and where winning trophies and medals were normal because the alumni already set a high benchmark because winning state, district, nationals was normal.
Yeah.
And the association called Pune Schools Athletics Association, and it's established in 1902. And in 2006, we won the 60th year consecutive athletics championship, 60 years consecutive. So being part of that, then you actually got to know that you stand to play somewhere in the ecosystem, in the sports ecosystem. Then from athletics, moving on to football because you have speed. That's how you are identified. And then got into football, got pulled up by a lot of colleagues that just because of speed you're a footballer. So then, then you have to work around. You have to work extra. You learn some skills and things, and then you convert into hockey player. So everything fell in one place, and then Pune FC happened. After 10th standard, there were some trials, and then we didn't know what's happening. We just went for trials, and we got through the first shortlist, second shortlist, third shortlist, and then later I got to know finally that there is life in football. There is a pathway. Till then, we had no clue about, and that's how it started. And there was no plan to be a professional player. There was no plan to be a coach. And then with injuries, one of one of my mentors who's no more now, Mr. Shabi Singh, he guided me a lot that during your off time, get your coaching badges done. One fine day, my school teacher just calls me, Mr. Wilson, sir. He calls me and he says, Steve, if you're at home, can you come and coach kids? And I never saw myself coaching, to be honest. I never knew I would coach kids, or I never knew I would deal with kids because I was a naughty kid myself, difficult to handle. So I went there one day and then he said, okay, this is the group, coach, give your experience. You've done things. And I slowly started enjoying it. And then I felt that I could make a difference. I felt that I could impart some decent knowledge which I didn't have past, and that would help young footballers just in general, or just give them a pathway. So that's how the journey started. ISL happened. I was ready to pick up anything. I wanted to also be a ball boy at one point of time, just to gain knowledge, because then you keep progressing into that field. You want to know more. Then ISL happened. Got good breaks with working with Mr. Franco Colomba, David Platt, being around them. Got to know more detail about football. Then I went back to school, started coaching kids. I've been taught geography for 6 months in school because then I really loved teaching.
Yeah.
That was either football or any other subject. And of course, the teachers didn't see me that because I was a student back then. So it was very difficult for them to digest the change. 2018 Young Champs happened. Again, was my plan to join Young Champs. It was an accident. I I was there. I applied and called me for a session, and it was just overnight. It was so rapid that I had to move base from Pune to Mumbai. Young Champs, 2 years. My first colleague was Saksham in Young Champs. We worked together in 2018. So again, good that we do this together. My journey started in Young Champs with Saksham as a coach, and we both took off coaching. And then when joining RFYC, I could actually see growth in this
Hmm.
profession.
Yeah.
In football, what are the next steps? And because you're always thinking that what are the next steps, we don't know.
Yeah.
But here we could see a pathway to develop ourselves as coaches, to make a difference to the society, and to train elite players, which we've never done before.
Yeah.
Especially, I had never trained elite players. I was with school and then senior football.
Right.
And I've been around professional players, played with them. But how it is to train elite players is something which I think Young Champs has shown us. And
Yeah.
I mean, we've grown into it. 2018, 2022, 21, again, Saksham was head of scouting that time. And Saksham says, okay, he wanted to develop more as a coach. And the opportunity came to me that, Steve, do you want to do scouting? I said, yes. I asked myself, do you have any clue of scouting? I said, no, I don't have any clue. But I think it was a good decision, very good decision for me, which I took at that moment, unknowingly, what I'm getting into and how it could impact and what importance this could have in the ecosystem of
Yeah.
scouting. And I just trusted my instincts and got into it and got the ball up and running. It was a lot of self study to
Yeah.
be done. Honestly, I had to literally pick up the map of India in my room and try to figure out which state is where, what's happening, and purely going on what the need of Young Champs is. Benefit of being in Young Champs at that time and training younger players was to actually know what the benchmark is and what are the values, what is an academy looking like, and what type of players do we need. Of course, support from all the support staff is there, but yeah, it was a long journey. So like you see, it's
Yeah.
the graph is gone up down, and I'm here traveling the country length and breadth, you could say 3 times a year, 2 times a year, 50-60 odd flights every year. And then slowly I started liking it. I'm an outdoor person. I like traveling. I like to be myself. And then I'm best when I'm on the pitch looking at players. So that's my scouting journey, and that's
Yeah.
that's so far I've come.
Did the teaching geography help you now? That because you're actually doing a geography in real, right? You're
In-
going literally length and breadth of the country.
Honestly, at that time, I'd never thought that I would have to buy a map of India and refer to and then think about geography. I'd never thought, but I never got good marks in geography or history either. So, but now, yes, I know the country on my fingertips. So that's
Steve
Great.
has a nice image on his phone actually,
Yeah.
where he's highlighted the map of India and all the different states where we have recruited scouted
Yes.
players
Right.
into our setup from color coded and everything. So the geography lessons might not have helped him, but now he
yeah.
knows
Yes.
he knows
He
his
knows.
geography. Let's
I
just
know
say
my
that.
geography. Yes, I know where the players are, where to find, what to do. So yeah,
Great.
now that's helped.
I think hearing both your initial stories, I should tell my listeners that I had no clue about this, the detailing of the story, how it kind of connected. But kudos to me that I got you both together on the
Yes.
show
Yes.
unknowingly, that there's a connection between, the deeper connection than just you both being colleagues at Young Champs. But anyway, coming back, the story's about you guys. So, Saksham, for you, as you mentioned that, as you said, that you were head of scouting, right? How close are these two roles, a coach and a scout? Because as I see from outside, is also very distinct and different, though they are maybe having some kind of parallel. So for you, when you were heading and then you had to hand over that, so how did you kind of dabble maybe both?
Yeah, I'll answer the first question. How close they are? I think it helps if you're a coach. Not that if you are not a coach, you really can't identify talent or potential, but it helps when you're a coach, and I think that's what helped me when I took up the role initially. When I look at it now in hindsight, it's quite apart as well. So in terms of, yes, I was a coach, I could see technical skills. I could see, this player tactically can also improve, mentally can also improve. So maybe with this player, we can get him into our system and he will develop. Where I think, and obviously Steve will elaborate a little bit more, considering how much now effort he's put into this role. As a scout, the biggest skill, the biggest talent that you can have is the ability to identify whether this player that I see in front of me right now, and in India, the challenge is where you don't have, let's say, RFYC setups everywhere. So you're
Yeah.
picking up a grassroots player who might not have had a proper organized play, a coach who's telling him this is what he must do. So to pick up that player and then know for sure, given where he comes from, what his background is, what his parents are like, where he grew up, so many factors that go into this, to then can he thrive in our system and become the player that we think he can be.
Right.
That's a big skill that a scout can must have, or rather a scout can keep learning. Where it helped me, like I said, is just being able to identify, okay, I see these basic skills now in the potential. Us and the group of coaches at Young Champs, can we decide whether this player can grow in our system? That's where a little connect is there. But I think a scout has almost like a Midas touch, where he can identify immediately, yes, but this player, trust me, he will not thrive in your system, or he will thrive in your system. Go for it.
Yeah.
Take him. And that, I think, is a skill. It's an acquired skill, or maybe you're born with it. Steve will maybe give you the details.
Now, you also mentioned in your initial bit that you studied sports coaching.
Correct.
Tell me a bit more about it, because that's very interesting. That's not something that usually we are exposed to.
Yes.
That's something outside India. But in India, coach education courses are there. That's completely different. It's done by IFF. But this is something you went out and did your
Correct.
proper certified course.
Yes.
What did you learn? Like, what was the curriculum like?
Yeah, so a lot of theory around pedagogy, a lot of theory around, there was sports science involved. There was a lot of, we had to do a lot of research on what football in your own country is like, and how you can get it to the level that you aspire to be. That's what I actually did my dissertation on. Mainly around understanding the literature and the theory behind what organized play is, and even including the physical side. I also studied actually football management and the business side. That's where it revolved around majorly. The biggest learning for me is not, when I was there in that course, is not about just picking up the literature, but it was so much about, okay, we're giving you these textbooks, we're giving you these, we're gonna do theory, we're gonna sit in a room and discuss, but at the end, you yourself are going to identify what suits, what's best for you to learn from this little textbook, and then you tell us what your best learnings are.
Right.
So it was not very similar to how it is in India, where, hey, here's the syllabus, study, go, exam. Whereas this one was, what is relevant to you? There's not a test with questions. What's relevant to you? You tell us in the best way that you understand, backed with research, that yes, this is for me a good learning. Yeah, that was, let's say, my biggest learning. And then, of course, I tied it to what's going on back home with unorganized play, and not so much of a professional structure, because back then actually ISL had not even started. It was still I-League. And I had some findings, and luckily now I'm involved with ISL in the most nascent way. But so my education helped me a lot, actually. So that would be my biggest learning, so to say.
Yeah, because that's what I was coming to at. Because in case you didn't have that kind of background, though you had a school of Indian football under Richard and Pradeep,
True.
but even that would have been overwhelming if you wouldn't be exposed to something what you got there, right? To be, would that be right?
100%, because actually I was surrounded by really cool minds in that little room, where it was only 7 of us.
Right.
Everybody from a different background. We had a guy from Portugal. We had a few Scottish people. Sorry, 2 Scottish people. We had one from Cyprus, a Welsh instructor. So a lot of different minds connecting together, and then those learnings come in so handy when you actually walk into the ground reality of Indian football. So, and like you said, then with Richard and Pradyum, if I had a theory, I said, but I learned that when I was there. And then they were quick, because Pradyum is also has been in Scotland for a while. So Richard also has been to the UK multiple times for his licenses. So they were very quick to say, hey, it's good that you had this background. You had your masters, but you're now in Indian football. Use those learnings. Use those learnings and theories in the right way to really understand what will work here. That, I think, the connect that's important.
I think with the show, with this episode, we're going to just touch the surface level of what you guys do with regards to your roles at RFYC? Because I think we can sit here all day long and do multiple series of getting into the tea of scouting or getting to how the system is and stuff. And there's often a mention of how RFYC system is. So, Steve, what is the system that you guys have built and the system that you are trying to make sure that this kid kind of will it fit in or won't fit in? So, if you can just take us through how elaborate is this program by Young Champs?
So I think over a period of time, we've developed a very robust scouting system. And what I mean by robust scouting system is first identifying the right people in the regions, because we believe that the scout is the closest to the community. We sitting in Mumbai, or rather, we are as an academy, we don't know what's happening in Kolkata or in Kerala or in the northeast or up north in Punjab. We don't know what's happening. So identifying these scouts is the first and foremost thing. Secondly is we don't in our academy we don't our academy, you might have not heard about trials anywhere that RFYC is holding open trials. Why we do that is because we don't want to create a counterproductive pressure system for a child, because then it's just one opportunity where he has to either show himself. If he's not performed that day, then he loses
Yeah.
a chance. And the word scouting itself doesn't mean it's a one shot opportunity.
Yeah.
It has to be progressive. The player must be given multiple chances, and also for a scout to be sure about what he's bringing in, because we are literally going to uproot one player from his own city and bring him to a total different city altogether. So we have a 4-layer system where primarily our scouts do the scouting work first within their regions. They identify talent. So we break it down in such a way that in every state is broken down into north, south, east, west, because in every state, players from the north side of the particular state will be different from the south side, will be different from the east and the west. So for example, in Mumbai, a boy from Madanpura will be totally different from a boy from Panvel.
Yeah.
The traits are totally different.
Yeah.
So that's how our scouts travel within their state, within their region, and identify high potential players. So there is a difference between, potential and performance players. So we see high potential players. So then we bring these kids back. It's obviously very difficult to cover ground, and for a scout to go again and again and watch these players. They do it as much as they can, but then all these players are brought under one roof. Then the best play against the best. So again, this is not a trial. We call all these players for a training session just to understand how they behave when they are challenged by another player.
Yeah.
Because within their particular region or their district, they might be the best, but if challenged, what happens?
Yeah.
So then the scout gets a clear understanding about what am I seeing, what am I looking at, can this player cope? If needed, if the scout has doubts, he does another session with them.
Okay.
And it's a session where the player has to go through a warm up, through drills, through small sided games, to possession games, everything. So it's just not that the player comes, plays, and goes. That's not what we look for. We at Young Champs, we like players who train well.
Right.
If you train well, you play well. It's simple. So scouts also do this. This is the second layer. Third layer comes the regional camp, where I personally travel with RFYC coaches, and we deliver a young champ session there.
Okay.
That's what our standard is. And in this session, it's demanding. Yes. Is it fair? Yes, we try to push, because we try to gather as much as information in that particular session, whether the player will cope, not cope, is he coachable, is he not, how is he reacting. So that's a lot of work put in there. And then we make a decision about should we bring the player to Mumbai for a week-long camp. Again, keeping in mind the other picture about can he cope up coming to Mumbai, what is his surrounding like, where is he a shy kid, is he not? And then we bring him to Mumbai. That's a week-long, we call it as a national camp or a final camp for RFYC, where 60 is not a number to quote, but around 60 kids, we bring them to Mumbai. And it's a week-long camp where they are literally pushed and forced, not forced, but pushed to live a young champ's life. So they get closer to young champs, and we also identify in those 5 days that can the child cope. So based on these 5 days, then as a team, we sit and decide which player is fit for young champs. So this is just from the scouting bit of it, from the regional scouts. We also have AI Scout we partnered with
Right.
in during COVID. That's taken us to places where our scouts can't go.
Yeah.
Of course, with just to break it down, we have 794 districts in the country, and do we have 794 people? No. And so AI Scout gives access to every child who dreams to be a professional player, who wants to show himself, give a fair opportunity. That app does that. It gives an opportunity to players. We have a lot of entries coming in on AI Scout, and then it's my job to literally weed out players from there, see the technical abilities, see the physical abilities, see where he is coming from, what is he doing, what type of drills, everything, and then create a short list and invite players from AI Scout as well. So it's been, so you could say first layer of scouting is the scout goes and looks at the players. Second, he wants to be sure, so he gathers all the best of the best. The third is the regional camp. The fourth is the final camp. If we are not sure about a player in the final camp, then we also refer to the AI Scout where he's done the trial, and then to just get good data that okay, we feel that dribbling is good. AI Scout also shows that, so that's another layer. So I think it's a pretty robust system, and we give scholarships to only 16 players. That's our 14 outfield and 2 goalkeepers. So the chance. I mean, I look at around 1,500 to 2,000 players with the naked eye every single year in that particular age group.
Yeah.
So now if you do the math, and 16 make it to RFYC, so it's quite a robust system, I would say.
He mentioned about the Young Champ session that you all take it to, and that's like also intense and fun and cool. And you also mentioned in the start that the cool stuff that you guys do at the Young Champs. So if I had to ask you to take me through a Young Champ session, what does it look like?
Good, great question. The first thing that I think we are identified with or defined by is our intensity. That's something that was really clear from the start when this program came about. Is something that a young champs player is going to be identified by is the intensity at which a player can play, can train at, and then bring that intensity energy into games. So that's the first thing. If you walk into a young champs training session, and that was for me, when I walked in, and when Pete said, hey, come down, I remember the date. It was my birthday, actually, 24th January 2016. Come down, Father Ragnall's. That time we used to train at Vashi. Turf ground, hard ground, and the opponent is completely blown away just by the speed at which these players play at, move at, and it's still stuck with me. So I would say the main thing is a young champ session. If you walk in, and it's actually really cool because when you walk in into RCP on the artificial and the grass pitch that we have, if you just look around, it's like a 360 view that you get. You'll hear coaches and players giving so much energy in the training. The sound
That
of the
echoes,
ball, it echoes the sound of the ball when it moves. The intensity is overwhelming actually when you see it for the first time, and that's the main thing. But overall, when something that we do also, when the kids from we haven't spoken yet about the Now Pangli, but when we have kids from the final trial when they come, or even when we get kids into trials, or just as an exposure trip, something that we are really clear is that a young champs training session, no problem, make it chaotic. That's no problem. Make it complex, make it chaotic, as long as the players understand, of course. Drive it with a lot of intensity, with a lot of energy. With our players, the main thing is it's very independent in terms of the coach is leading it, the coach is creating the environment. A player has to find his own solutions. If a player cannot find those solutions, we guide them.
Right.
Not handhold them, but we will guide them into finding solutions. So expression, creativity, it's all something that we make sure we get from a player. So it's not very rigid, a young champs training session where a coach is completely saying, hey, you have to do it this way, it has to be this. We actually have stages in a season where we might do that just to make sure that a player understands, hey, if you're on young champ, this is how it has to be. But apart from that, it's quite a lot of expression for the players to show in a training session. A lot of intensity, a lot of energy, and something that I think overall we are quite proud of is we have a set of principles that our academy is defined by. And if you walk up to a young champ and you say, okay, tell me a principle of attack, tell me principle of transition, tell me exactly what you did today, every player will be able to tell you that. Hey coach, we did today, our what we mainly trained was attack, and attack in zone 1, and the main principle that we focused on was creating a +1. These are all details actually, so quite
Right.
boring for some of the audience members, but it echoes, like you said, every player knows this is what we're doing, and this is what a young champs training session is going to be, which is intensity, energy, chaos, and a lot of freedom for expression within this sort of bubble, if you want to call it.
Yep. That itself was intense. So I'm sure how a session actually on the pitch would go about. Like, both of you are A licensed coaches as well. You both can add in whoever wants to go first. There's also a thing, I don't know if it's outside India, it's the same, but I've seen this among the Indian football coaches, right? When you get to an A license, everyone wants, like, okay, I've reached the epitome of what I could get in Indian football. That means I also need a role as a head coach. I mean, you don't get a head coach role anymore for just A, but you look at ISL level and you look at senior teams basically. So you're not looking at grassroots as something that I would have an A license and want to still invest in. There are a few handful like y'all, and then of course before y'all with Richard and Pradyum doing that stuff, but they're a different breed altogether anyway. So do you guys being in part of that system also hear that chat around from your colleagues who are coaches outside anywhere where like A license मिल गया, so I'm looking for a senior team. Grassroots कुछ नहीं मिला, तो I will enter there. Do you think that myth is being breaking down, like, as new generation of coaches coming in, and also the focus being grassroots football? Now I think people are looking down before taking the shot up, right? So how do you kind of maneuver around that? What are the conversations that you guys have around coaches among y'all? Whoever wants to go first.
I think if you're in football or any other sport or any profession, I mean, I consider myself as the student of the game.
Yeah.
And regardless of which license you hold, you are learning every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day, on the pitch, off the pitch. It's also to do with how much you are invested in it, and if you're doing it out of passion, then the age group doesn't matter. Of
Right.
course, coaches do have ambitions to train at the highest level, to coach at the highest level, and that's what you aspire to be at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But also to get to A license, you invest 6, 7, 8 years of your life, and when you are consistently coaching in that, you gain a lot of experience. And where does that experience, it can either go back to youth or it can go to senior team.
Yeah.
You go to senior team, you gain the experience, and what do the kids need? They need that pathway. So you need people to hold highest degrees and also come to invest yourself in youth. But I think a coach has to be very clear about what he wants to do. He wants to be in youth football, or he wants to do senior football, or transition from youth to senior. And I think the graph cannot be only going upwards. It has to go down, and then and then you come up. So in all fairness, to say that, yes, I do get a lot of questions from people. What are you doing? You have an A license, you have the qualities of a coach, you
Yeah.
can coach. I mean, look, if you know yourself better, you know what your journey is and what you want to do. I think you enjoy these talks, you take it with a pinch of salt, but yeah, end of the day, you do what you enjoy the most. So
I'd just like to expand on what Steve said. So great answer. I think something that's lacking in our ecosystem overall, and I speak just on behalf of the coaches community, is we don't have enough specialized coaches.
Right.
So something that we see is, like you rightly said, right? If you've got that A license, a lot of people want to make the jump immediately into senior football, and they're not wrong for thinking like that. But and Steve touched upon this. I think every coach has a certain quality, and what we hear in our little bubble at Young Champs is, especially when we have also every coach gets a final evaluation or an assessment from the head of youth.
Okay.
And something that they tell us is always have a plan, have a
Yeah.
vision, but let it be derived from your qualities. So I'll take my example. I think when I'm on the pitch, my dream started, my ambition started from, of course, as a player, but also when I saw, I'm a big Man United fan. So when I really saw Man United lose those two finals to Barcelona, uh, uh, um, won the first one, second one they lost. It, yeah, there was it pinched me really. It pinched me, but more I was trying to understand, hey, how did Pep Guardiola do that to Man United? And my ambition actually derived from that. Of course, yes, I wanted to make it as a player, but it derived from that. And that's something that's still deep within me. And Steve is a good example where Steve says, hey, I worked with young kids, and you can see that in his passion, even in his scouting.
Yeah.
We have another colleague, I won't mention, we have another colleague at Young Champs where you can see he has so much talent, but he knows really well his qualities, which is it's sticking to young players. He is a master of his craft when it comes to developing young players. Does he have the talent level to go to to make another step in his journey? Yes, but he knows that the future of let's say even the country in a way is a lot in his hands, because he can develop them the best way that maybe no one else can. So
Right.
that ways we are very clear. And given my role here right now, I'm working with the under 19s. I've got that opportunity because clearly the bosses or my colleagues saw something in me where they felt, yes, I worked with the under 14, under 13, under 12s, but maybe my specialized quality is in this a bit higher age group, and that's why I've also made the shift. We're quite specialized that way, where your qualities mean you work with X age group.
Right. And what do you think, as someone who's been there for over the years, knowing the coaching community, what do you think is why is is there a lack of guidance among the core group where, they lack people who tell them, hey, this is what you're good at and maybe you should specialize this, because that rapport is now within this community, which we all are building in the RFYC, right? So do you see that should be a broader aspect among the coaches community? Is that one of the things that lacks, where they don't have proper guidance or even a friend to say, what, this is what you're good at, specialize in this?
Ye- uh, I would say yes, but I can't speak too much since I've spent 8 years now at RFIC,
Right.
and I don't really know completely well what's going on outside this RFIC
True.
ecosystem. But my understanding on a very basic level is, like you say, there is a lack of guidance. When I talk to a few of my colleagues and peers, they also say, look, if we don't make the jump, finances are also not increasing, and there is not that much of a distinguished system here,
Yeah.
or I would say even abroad, where, hey, yeah, if you go higher up the age groups, you're going to be immersed in a particular way. That doesn't exist. It's more about the qualities that you bring and the work that you do with a particular age group. But I think that could be a big reason outside also.
Okay.
I think with the coaches, the important thing is make that jump is patience. I think when you upgrade yourself from a D license to
Yeah.
a C and a B, I think it's good. It's good learning, but in that process of upgrading, how much am I putting it out there? How much am I reflecting what is put out there? Am I thinking for myself? Am I creating something from, or am I just doing textbook stuff? And in this journey, I think every coach who reflects will find himself somewhere.
Yeah.
And find himself in that journey. So patience is a key, is a key element towards going higher and finding yourself. And has it come easy to us? No, it's not come easy to us. I mean, Saksham, I think 8 years.
Yeah.
8 years in Young Champs. Steve, 6 years in Young Champs, coaching, dealing with kids from a very young age, and I run very thin on patience. So it has taught me patience personally.
Yeah.
So it's just that you be patient, and your time will come. And you don't have to influence the whole world. You don't have to influence the whole country. You have to influence people who are around you, and those are the kids, those are the players.
Yeah.
If you can make that difference, then influence more. So that's how I think that's how one grows as a coach, or in any sports industry. If you're on pitch, if you're working with athletes, so I think patience plays a very important role in.
What's the key characteristic that an eye of a scout should have? Or what does the eye of a scout look for in different age groups that wherever he's looking for? What is it like? How would you describe or define that to a layperson or a football fan? Like, what does me as a scout look for in a player, and I say, okay, this is why this guy will do well at this age?
There's no set answer to this, but what I say that categorization of talent is key for a scout. No player is good or bad in a scout's eye if you watch it as a scout, because every player has a strength and a weakness. Where does that player fit? That is the skill of a scout. So the needs and demands of a particular academy would be, or the playing style would be different, and they require fast players. Then you're automatically drifted towards fast players. If a need of an academy is, okay, we need strong players, then you obviously look at big players. So uh, I think that is key. In our country, it's such a big country that every state has different characteristics of players.
Yeah.
Every state. What is an Indian player is still it's is an unsolved question or an unanswered question. What is Indian football's philosophy? We don't know, because every state has a philosophy. Every state has different characteristics of players, and the way of playing styles are different. So, but up and above, just to know what a scout looks for is, I think, physical traits, speed, because that's easy. It's eye catchy. If you see someone run fast, you know, okay, there's someone run fast. If you are coaching and if you're scouting players from a long time, then decision making is key. So that's easily visible in young players. And if you, as you grow higher, when you go under 16, under 19, positional awareness is very important. As a center back, what he does, not with the ball but without the ball, elements such as the mental side of the game, physical side, technical side, tactical side come into play. The younger you go, that technical side takes up more space in your pie chart, and the older you go, then the other four elements are incorporated in that. So
Right. Interesting. Now, the Young Champs also have some legendary players as coaches, right? I've had the pleasure of having Coach Gumpe on the show earlier. You also have Barreto. Just take a pause and
Legend.
yeah, let's take it all in. Before you say the name, and you also have Arata, and who's now moved out, graduated from the academy to the club.
yeah.
What's it like being around them, and how different are they when they're on the pitch as a coach, not as a player?
What we see is, eventually as a coach, it's not very different. But sometimes they can sense something. You can call it a sixth sense, or you can call it a feel. I don't know, some like a black box that they have in their brain, where they can sense something where you might not even witness. And I think it's just that feel. It's just that the occasion of being in that environment daily, that over the years it gets so accumulated. It's almost like, to put it in cricket terms, it's almost like Rohit Sharma, when he gets that ball a shot, he knows exactly, okay, perfect, this is perfect for me, I'm going to play that pull without even thinking. And it's exactly like that for them, because they've been in that environment so much every day for so many years. It's something that they can sense that you might not even, you can't, it's not visible to you.
Yeah.
And in those things, that's one thing, I mean, we wish we had, where they can sense it, things a little bit better, huh? When the environment is a little bit dull, they know, okay, I have to make the joke now. When a moment in the game where they have so much energy, but they know, okay, but I think I must be calm now because of what's going on the pitch. And that's just a feeling. Maybe they reflect on their own playing days, and they can
Yeah.
get a sense of, okay, this is what I would have wanted as a player. And so that's the edge, huh? That's the difference of, let's say, being in that, being playing for so long, gives you that edge.
The reason I asked is also because Coach Gumpe, being a goalkeeper himself, I know he has that voice. He's loud and he's a talkative kind of guy. But for a player like Barreto, we often say good players talk less. They talk on the pitch,
Yes,
right?
that's
With their game, with their stuff. What is he like, a coach?
So I think for any professional player, from playing to coaching, the transition is very difficult.
Yeah.
It is difficult because from being super self-focused towards a team goal objective to coming as a group and being open and in that environment with kids, elite kids, you could say that is challenging. I
Yeah.
could say, and I think with I think the names you took, Arata, Gumpe, and Jose, they've had the longest careers in Indian football. They've
Yeah.
been there. It's
Yeah.
not a short career which they've had. So that itself speaks a lot about how resilient they were as players. They've been in their academy for a very long time. So how much effort they've put into themselves in transitioning from a player to a coach, that speaks a lot. And I think that our academy recognizes that their experiences, as Saksham said, there is something in them that they catch actions fast. I think this comes with playing at the highest level, experiencing the highs and lows, adrenaline high, low. And back then, they would rely on themselves to find solutions.
Yeah.
Now we have access to sports psychology, we have access to strength and conditioning to develop. Now we have access to multiple resources. That time they did what's right, so they are very instinctive about things and their
Yeah.
approach. So being around them, the like in Young Champs, everyone's equal. We right, all departments, we all respect each other. There is enough harmony between us.
Yeah.
And of course we learn a lot from them. Again, as coaches, they see actions which we don't see. Of course, I don't say that they see it a little faster, I could
Yeah.
say, but now being 8 years and 6 years for both of us in their academy, we also can see those things. Again, depends on how much you are invested and how much you want to learn from them. But they're good guys. They're good guys, and we have good times with them. Of course, the boys, some of them might not have been born when they
Yeah.
were at their helm of their career.
Yeah.
But like you said, Jose, his stats speak volumes, and he's a quiet guy. But
Finally,
amazing.
coming to the concluding part, again, I'm going to touch upon it because Nopang League, we've done an extensive coverage and that's going to come out on our YouTube channel very soon. Very soon. But Saksham, for you, what does, when the league started, right? It's the second season as of now. And how exciting was this for you? Because it's no more in the RFYC bubble, but you're taking RFYC to another place and making them experience that and guiding a place like Mizoram. Not that there was no football ever. We often see that time and again they keep producing players. But now with RFYC going in there, they're giving that push, the guidance, the character that's needed to kind of build. How exciting was it for you?
Yeah, it's super cool. I actually haven't been yet, but I've been a big sort of pioneer. I know I can't say pioneer, but maybe I've been wishing for this for such a long time. Where I've been telling Yash, we need to. There's magic happening inside inside RCP and inside Beverly. We need to take this to the next step. And actually, how I think it started was where we went to Mizoram a few years ago, and that time Steve was not involved with the scouting, I was, and we said, okay, let's try this because we had a few connects there. And of course, we there was one player that we saw and we were blown away. He's now I'm working closely with that player. He's now with the under-19s, and yeah, how some of the things that he does on the pitch, we are still blown away. And I remember that time he had worn a jacket and it was 35 degrees, and nonchalantly he just destroys everyone on the pitch, scores goals, just walks back casually because that's a very meso thing to do. But because that culture is so strong,
Yeah.
and then you combine that amazing football culture with what RFIC has to offer, which we discussed with the training session, with the brains that we have in the coaching, in the psych, in this performance department, it's just magic that is waiting to come out in a few years in the open. And so excited to see what comes of it in 7-8 years. No, this is just magic. Mizo Premier League is gonna benefit, and I'm sure Indian football too.
Yeah, Steve, you just get 2 lines because we've spoken extensively, as I said in the video that'll come out soon. But your initial thoughts when this league was being formed, and as he said, it was a wishful thinking for him and the team even before you could join. And when you joined, you took up the head of scout, right? You took up the role, and now you get to travel the beautiful Mizoram.
Yes.
Time and again, and get these young players from literally 8-6 onwards, right? Your initial thoughts.
Look, like I said, um, I'm more Mizo than I'm more Mizo now than the Mizo people. I visit Mizoram more than our boys do. Quite exciting, a beautiful place to be in. Different culture. I feel it's a different country altogether
Yeah.
within the country.
Yeah.
Uh, I think with the whole Naupang League season 1, season 2, for any scout, that's a gold mine.
Hmm.
And when you have games, when you have a calendar, when you have a structured calendar, when you know when there's going to games happen, when there is training sessions, easy access to talent. I think there's always been talent in the Northeast. They've delivered players. Mizoram specifically, the list can go on and on. But for me personally, it's also been about community, getting close to the community, knowing people. People in Mizoram are shy, but they take time. One of the biggest things and biggest jobs for me in scouting is to know the community where the child comes from, because when he comes to young champs, it's not only restricted to Mumbai. We also go overseas for exposure trips in young
Yeah.
champs. So how is that going to shape up? How is that going to look like? Because from one state to another, from one country
To
to
another.
another, to foresee those things, I think collectively we as an academy are very much invested in this. And only Naupang League, it's been amazing. In short, it's been amazing. Now now we have kids coming in, parents coming in and asking us, we want more teams, we want more games, and they're on time for training sessions. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
Like I said, for any scout, it's a gold mine. When you see 100 kids playing, and everyone playing at high intensity, enjoying, not shy to show themselves on the pitch, express themselves, right from under 6 to under 14, is amazing. And you don't know where to look at times.
Yeah.
And there's so much passion in that in that city, that you fall short of words. That I mean, only your it's a memory for your eyes, it's a memory for yourself. You can't
Yeah.
put it on paper, or you can't. Videos don't do justice also to the scenic
True.
views. Wherever you stand, it's a view. And can football be played at the highest, so high above sea level? Yes, it can be played, and they are giving results. And we feel that we are contributing towards Indian football. This is one of our initiatives. Of course, Young Champs, Naupang League, and like Saksham said, we want to take this magic to every part of the country, and hope to benefit Indian football in the future.
Yeah. Definitely more than two lines there, Steve. But I
Yeah.
see that passion and the
Yeah.
character of, wanting to be there, someone witnessing. And I must say, humans of Indian football got a chance, an opportunity, a time in Mizoram. Now, we couldn't watch the game, unfortunately. But to add to what Steve mentioned, the passion, the character, the parents, and the kids show, there was no game, but they just came to interact with us when they got to know that this is for the Nopang League, and really drove, I think, an hour or two away, and in afternoon spend hours with us and half a day with us. So I think definitely the passion is there, and I credit to all of you all who kind of pushing that passion and actually making it into a testimony on the pitch as well. Saksham and Steve, I think that was a beautiful one. I enjoyed doing this. I hope you guys had fun doing this as well. Thank you so much for taking time out, literally. Saksham, as you were saying, you had a busy day. But Steve, you're back from
Mizoram last
Mizoram.
night.
Yeah. So when you guys listening, this is on a Wednesday, but we did this on a Saturday. Thanks to my sound engineer who kind of changed his plans as well and came to the show. But I hope all the listeners had good fun. Thank you to both of you all.
Thanks, Siju. Thanks, Siju, for having us. Personally, so enjoyable. It's the first time I'm actually doing a podcast, and I didn't know how chilled out and how relaxed it can be. So maybe that's also kudos to you. But fascinating, enjoyable, and definitely one that myself I would love to do again. So thanks.
Thank you, Siju.
Finally, you just kept that into words. Great. To all the listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. This is a Totally Indian Football show available on all the audio leading platforms. You eventually one day maybe get to see us do this as well. But for now, just listen to us, enjoy our voices and the info. I'm sure this was fun. Do share if you like it. And this is me, Siju, signing off. Thank you so much.